Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm continuing with painting sunflowers. Yesterday I did them in pen and watercolor, and today I'm doing them or have done them in water mixable oils. When I'm painting in oils or acrylics, I usually don't bother with a tracing paper sketch. I work straight on the canvas. And I'm painting my background in this case because water mixable oils stay soft for quite a long time. There's no point in waiting for them to dry. I paint in a wet on wet technique, and I start off with my lightest color, yellow. This is a cad yellow. I have a slightly different palette with water mixable oils. I put my colors on, yellow, blue, and green, and then go over with the powder brush and titanium white to get a misty background. I get my powder brushes from the dollar store. They're cheap, they're cheerful, they work well. Using my liner brush, I sketch in my stems, and I've got a mixture of sap green and raw umber. Raw umber's nice and transparent. I don't have raw sienna. I only have yellow ochre on my palette today. And I'm keeping the same configuration as yesterday's painting. 3 sunflowers, a bit on the skinny side, a bit weedy. And I do the stems first. I'm using a 1/2 inch flat, and I'm going to put in some leaves. I use a mid-tone. I always start off in what I call a mid-tone. It's color to which I add shadow and highlight as I go along. I draw in the center vein of the leaf and then pull in the rest of the leaf from the outer edge in toward that center vein. I'm using a large round to pull in the rays of the sunflower itself, and I think I'm using cad yellow. I have a slightly different palette today, as I say, and this is quite a transparent paint, and I go over it with some white and also some yellow ochre as I go along. But I do the same as I do with any other petal. I pull it in from the outside edge in toward the center. I let the brush do the work for me. This one at the left-hand side, the lowest one, is a bit on the raggedy side. I'm going to call it wind-blown. I think that's a better way to describe it. I'm using straight sap green to put on this little seed pod with the sepals springing from it. I'm basically painting in a mid-tone for the entire painting until I decide which direction the light is coming from, and then I will put in my shadow and my highlight. I always paint in those 3 steps: mid-tone, shadow, and then highlight. I might reinforce the highlight if I'm using titanium white because it tends to dry down a little duller, and I have to go in and keep reinforcing that highlight until I get it as bright as I need it. I'm simply putting raw umber in the centers of the flowers. It actually can be quite interesting. You see some paintings where they've really put a lot of work into the center of the flower and made it something to really look at. I'm keeping it simple. It's taken me about 15, maybe 20 minutes to do this painting, and I've cut out all the bits that aren't interesting. Me running around looking for a brush or feeding the cats or something. You don't need to see a blank screen while I'm doing that. So those are the bits that I usually cut out. You get all the painting bits. I've finished with the mid-tone and have decided that the light is coming from the right, and I'm putting my shadow on the side that doesn't get the light, on the left side of the leaves, left side of the flowers, and of the stems. And sometimes I do it all wrong and get my light going all higgledy-piggledy in the wrong direction, but today I think I got it right. And I did add some color to the petals because I thought they were a bit faded looking and uninteresting. And I added as I go on, you'll see that I make more fuss of the stems as well. For my highlight, I add the yellow and some titanium white to the sap green, and that gives me a nice color. In this case, it melds with the background a little bit. I've got a few lost edges in there. I'm quite proud of myself for that. And I do it on the leaves and on the stems as well. Mix titanium white in with the yellow to give me a nice bright highlight for the rays. I don't know why they call them rays. I don't really understand sunflowers. I call them petals, but I know they're known as rays. Maybe because they're so much like the sun. Rays, right? Don't worry if you find yourself pulling a petal over a leaf. It adds a sort of reality to the painting, which is quite charming to the eye. Um, it doesn't bother me if things overlap in my flower paintings. I like that look. I like the looseness of my painting. That's one thing I can say with confidence. I add in a few darker petals where I feel they might be in the shadow. Um, some uh, shadow parts are caused by other petals overlapping, and I just use my imagination a lot when it comes to little things like that. Well, where would the light hit? Where does the shadow fall? Well, some of you might not agree with this because I don't think you often see alizarin crimson on a sunflower stem. You do on roses. You see pinks and reds on rose leaves and stems, don't you? But you don't on sunflowers. But I love a bit of alizarin in a painting. And so I put it on my stems. I feel it adds interest. It sort of perks the picture up a bit. I just like it. And I'm mixing up an orange for a highlight. And you'll just have to forgive me for this if you don't agree. I just think it adds a little life to the painting. What the heck, I'm even adding a little orange to the leaves. Maybe it's got a little sunburned or dying off on the edge or something. And it's gone that lovely crinkly orange. Let's say that's what's happening. I think the foreground is rather bland, and I'm using a bristle fan brush to put in some grasses and weed and scrubby bits. And I use a mixture of greens to do this. And as I go on, I add some goldenrod type flower. I don't know if that would be in a sunflower field. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't, but hey, it's in my picture. And it adds a bit of interest and brightness to the foreground. You can turn your fan brush in different directions depending on how high you want something, or if you want scrub across the base of the ground. If you want a plant that stands higher, you can turn it on its edge. They're very versatile fan brushes. I'll try not to make you seasick while giving you a close-up of the final picture. It's actually quite pale compared to this one, which I adjusted in with using a software, and I'll probably use it for a print. I think I overdid it. I think I like the original picture better. The original picture on my easel, it does look brighter than it did when I was painting it. It must be a camera thing. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm doing sunflowers this week to try them using different medium, and I'm enjoying it anyway. So I'll see you next time, probably with acrylics or maybe my new pastels when they arrive. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. You know that helps my channel grow, and I very much appreciate all of you who've done that already. Thank you so much. And I'll see you tomorrow with a new version of sunflowers.